Gokurakugai Sanbandori no Ken, or the Gokuraku District's 3rd Avenue Incident, is a one-shot by Yuto Sano, published for Jump SQ in 2020. The basic premise is as follows. Sister Tao and Alma are what's known as troubleshooters, 4 higher problem solvers who operate within the lawless Gokuraku District. For a price, the two are willing to clean up anyone's mess. If I had to give a direct comparison, I would say it's Black Lagoon, but with furries. To keep it short, the one-shot is very good. It's a kind of detective noir story about this mermaid girl's missing family. Sister Tao and Alma have this great sibling chemistry that really carries the story. The plot itself was simple and delivered very well, and it had a satisfying conclusion. Yuto Sano's art is great. The city has this dark and oppressive atmosphere, and all the characters are lively and expressive. And they all look really good, especially Sister Tao, because she makes my kokoro go doki doki. Overall, there was a lot of talent on display, and you could see the groundwork for a good series here. So it's no surprise it was picked up for serialization in 2022. And we got the first chapter of what would be the final version of Gokurakugai. But when it was released, something was wrong. It just felt different. One-shots are of course just a proof of concept. You can expect some changes to occur between it and the final release. Although, in this case, the changes were kind of what made the one-shot what it was. For example, the one-shot had this really good opening. It was a perfect mix of tone, setting, establishing our 2 main characters and their relationship. It was a young Sister Tao just senselessly beating into an even younger Alma in the alleyway, like really going to town on his head, for the crime of trying to steal her money, Tao only stopping out of sympathy for him. This shows the beginning of a dark and violent story, the little dialogue between the two characterizing that Alma is just a good guy in a rough spot, and that Sister Tao is violent but not unreasonable. Jump cut to X amount of years later, Tao has taken on a mentor figure to Alma, who in turn passes on the compassion that she showed him. But in the final version, by comparison, the dark and violent tone is nowhere to be seen. The opening just being a shot of Alma picking up the phone while Tao reads a book in the background, before a narration tells us that people in this city sometimes go missing, just like every other city in the world. We are told a few pages later that the law has no power here, but that just doesn't feel like the case. This brightly lit, clean, sparsely populated street doesn't exactly scream danger. Our main characters also receiving a bit of a change, especially Sister Tao. The old Sister Tao was more expressive and emotionally reactive. Aggressive, but ultimately good-natured. The new Sister Tao, on the other hand, lost some edge, becoming more aloof and reserved, seemingly only caring about money. Whereas Alma actually remained pretty much the same, maybe a bit dumber. But more importantly, there seemed to be this distance between the two. Sister Tao doesn't really interact with Alma on the same level as before, with the story going that they only met 2 years prior. The two of them no longer feeling close and instead more like a woman and her tag-along. You just get this sense that somewhere along the line, Gokurakugai shifted narrative and tonal direction. It didn't want to tell a story about the lives of people struggling in the city, and the people who helped them. It was trying something else, and I don't think it was for the better. To show you what I mean, let's take a look at how the one-shot and the full release approach a similar scenario. Alma, while walking down the street, comes across a stranger, one who is in need of a troubleshooter. Alma, after getting into a brawl with some local thugs, bumps into a small girl. Seeing that she is distressed, he takes her back to Sister Tao, hoping to fix whatever's troubling her. The girl, Nene, reveals herself to be a mermaid, a very rare and exotic type of beastman that many nefarious people would love to get their hands on. Nene goes on to explain how her family had fallen into financial trouble. Her abusive stepfather sold off her mother, and now her sisters are missing after being forced to work, wink wink, to earn money. Nene has nothing and no one left. She's at her wit's end, begging for strangers to help, wanting to see her family again. Nene's story resonates with Sister Tao, and we are shown a shot of a young Sister Tao bruised and beaten. She knows how it feels to be the one lost and alone, in need of help, and she's been keeping that feeling her whole life. Sister Tao responds to Nene with a single word: fine. And I'm not being hyperbolic when I say those last 2 pages are absolutely fantastic pieces of storytelling. For a moment, Tao was that young girl again, and through these 3 shots we see how she's been carrying that pain into her adulthood, cultivating into this cold and intense face. While wandering down the street, Alma comes across a young boy vandalizing the side of his workplace. After finding out that this child is willing to pay a huge amount to find his missing friend, Alma drags him back to Sister Tao, who immediately demands payment for damages to the building, suggesting that the boy strip, lick the paint off the walls, and threatens to sell him. Sister Tao only showing interest in what the boy has to say after finding out about the bounty. This boy, Luca, goes on to explain that his best friend, a beastman named Yuki, has gone missing, and that he wants to find him. Suspecting that this might be related to those missing people in the area, the troubleshooters agree to help. Now, I'm not saying there's anything functionally wrong with the full release version, but think about which one has more of an emotional impact. Think about what we learned about Alma and Sister Tao by how they react to a stranger in need of help. I think it's difficult to deny that the one-shot is just far more impactful. We learn something very personal about Sister Tao and what exactly drives her to want to help people. We also see how Alma prioritizes compassion. Despite Nene trying to steal his wallet, he still chooses to help her. But with the final version, there's no emotional reaction to Luca's story, nothing to give us any insight to the troubleshooters' thoughts and feelings about this injustice. Their view of the world where the weak are abused and forgotten is kept secret. They help people, but supposedly are only in it for the money. But the story isn't coy about why there's this shift in narrative. Because it's after agreeing to help their respective clients, the one-shot and the final version diverge into 2 completely different stories. In the final version, Luca leaves Sister Tao and Alma because he thinks they're weird, and then just happens to run into Yuki in an alleyway. Ignoring Yuki's advice to run away, Luca gets attacked by an Alaskan bullworm. And then, at the last second, Alma and Sister Tao arrive on scene to fight off the Alaskan bullworm. And then Sister Tao explains the truth of the world, that there are monsters, real ones, monsters who prey on the weak. A mixture of human and animal, these creatures feed on blood to survive. If hell is real, these are the demons that live there. And they are named Manga. And I'm not joking, they are actually called Manga, but I'm going to refer to them as their alternate translation of calamities, because I feel if I keep saying the word Manga, I'll invite bad spirits into my apartment or something. Sister Tao goes on to explain to Yuki how hunting them down is her and Alma's real job, because they are part of a secret anti-calamity unit, formed to hunt down calamities, and Alma himself is half human, half calamity, and he can use special glowing eye demon powers to fight them, and I can't tell you how disappointing this is. To go from a story about helping people in a crime-ridden city to just another series about monster hunters. It's Tokyo Ghoul, it's Jujutsu Kaisen, it's Parasite, it's Attack on Titan, it's Chainsaw Man. It's every series where humanity is under attack by monsters and the protagonist is half human, half whatever, and some people think they're a monster while others think they're human, and the conclusion is that your humanity is based on what you do and not what you are, and blah blah blah. And there's nothing wrong with stories like these. I like them a lot. One spin around my bedroom and you'd notice you're being stared at by not 1 but 6 of the same red-headed girl with calm dead eyes. But going further into Gokurakugai, you just doesn't really try anything new with this premise. If you've seen any of the aforementioned series, you've seen what this one has to say about life, about humanity, and your relationship with it. Its narrative strengths just don't lie with the themes that these kind of stories explore. Gokurakugai shoots up in quality when it aligns closer to what made the one-shot so great. Not about Alma and his calamity nature, or this pretty boy trying to get enough guests for his dinner party, but when Sister Tao and Alma are investigating some bizarre occurrence, or running into people who are lost and scared, empathizing with someone's personal issues and wanting to help, because they're troubleshooters and that's what they do. When Gokurakugai focuses on its real message, the importance of being heard no matter who you are or what your problem is. That the first step to helping someone is to ask what's wrong and just listen. That's when Gokurakugai becomes something special. It's not the supernatural element that bothers me. This guy being able to choke people at a distance only slightly further away than actually just putting your hands on them isn't the problem. It's how this new direction omits any sense of build-up. There's no investigation, no understanding or empathizing with their clients, no neat, satisfying conclusions. They now have to worry if Alma might turn heel, or they have to go where the calamities are. Their incentive is always monetary, and the payoff is always the same: a fight with an earthworm. Gokurakugai isn't bad. If what you really enjoyed about the one-shot is its great art, fun fight scenes, and Sister Tao, well, good news, that's all still there. It's still kept its ability to deliver really compelling, impactful scenes. It's just a shame that these moments are often bogged down with a lot of lackluster narrative. But who knows what's in the future for Gokurakugai. I do have hope for this series, and it is something I will be keeping my eye on. I still recommend you go check it out and see for yourself, even if just for Sister Tao, because I'd grow a mustache just to let her burn it off.